Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Fishley, welcome to my channel. Today, you find me watching Bethesda's first ever E3 conference. In this video, I'll only be covering the highlights. Put simply, Bethesda put on a good show with some very interesting games, which I'll get to later. But I got the feeling Bethesda thought they needed to make the show longer, to give us more. And as such, some segments seem to drag on well past their welcome. Not every segment was like that, but there was definite filler in there. So with all that being said, let's get on with the highlights. First off, Marty Stratton, executive producer for id Software, came out to introduce the remake of Doom. Marty got the ball rolling by promising us three things: badass demons, big effing guns, and a high movement speed. And judging by this trailer, we got it. The demons look amazing, the worlds look amazing. There are all the classic guns you expect: double barrel shotgun, chainsaw, okay, not a gun, but still, plasma rifle, and of course, they shot at the very end of the last trailer, the BFG. And so after waiting the entire Doom trailer to see the BFG in action, the gun comes out, it goes to fire, screen goes black. You bastards, could at least shown us shooting it. I guess they want us to get the game to see it fire. Maybe. This is looking pretty good, and it's got my interest peaked in this game now. Some of the flaws I could see, it didn't feel like some of the lesser guns had impact. The pump action shotgun just didn't seem to do a lot initially. Now that could be because of the person playing, the range they're shooting at, etc. There's a myriad of reasons. Once the double barrel shotgun showed up on screen, it was all good. Shots hit, enemies splattered. That's fantastic, that's what I wanted to see. They also went on briefly about a multiplayer mode that I have no interest in. Others may find it interesting, but to me, Doom is the single player mode, the Horde mode. And while many games have done it recently, Doom is still the original. I will still want to play it. They also introduced Doom Snap Map, which is a map building tool that looks pretty intricate. You can use pre-designed rooms, or you can go the whole hog and lay down every barrel, every point on the map. Even going so far as to setting up AI interactions. It looked relatively simple to use, but I'm only basing it on the short bit of trailer we've seen. If this map creation takes off, this game will have long legs far beyond the end of the single player. So to finish up on Doom, it looks interesting. I'll give it a chance when it comes out. It's not a must buy for me, but I'm not going to say no to trying it. Just a side note to add here, this is one of the parts that dragged on. They initially showed the single player, then they talked about the map builder and the multiplayer, and then they went back and showed 5 more minutes of gameplay trailer. It felt to me like that section of gameplay trailer could be put at the start, instead of the relatively boring, low-key stuff we did see, or be left as an additional feature on the Bethesda YouTube site. But this is where my feeling of them stretching time came from, or at least started. Next up on the Bethesda buffet was Peter Hines to introduce Bethesda.net, a new combined network to support the Bethesda games through both PC and console. To my mind, it reminds me a lot of Battle.net, which is the Blizzard support network. So all your Bethesda games and their modding communities have a centralized location they can go and collect and share resources. This Bethesda.net will be tied to the Doom Snap Map that we talked about earlier, and apparently is already in use to support the Elder Scrolls franchises. Next up we had Lucas Davis, design director from Battlecry Studios, a new studio put together for the sole purpose of creating the game Battlecry. I've never heard of this one before, though apparently it has been in alpha testing by Australian and New Zealand players for the last few months. In the video they stated they're going to open beta and the sign-ups are starting now, with a release I believe somewhere in 2015, so probably end of the year. With all that said though, in the 4 minutes that trailer ran for, nothing impressed me. The game looked generic is the best I can put it. The character animations felt a little off, the backgrounds looked nice, the sound effects were okay, it just felt like I've seen this before. And to top it all off, they're entering a pretty crowded market with some big hitters due in the next year, apart from the still king of the hill Team Fortress 2. There's quite a few smaller games and indies that are taking up that same market. Not to mention you got big bastards like Blizzard bearing down with Overwatch in the near future. So all in all, I was unimpressed with the game. Let's go on to the next one. So after Battlecry was done, out walked the co-created directors of Arcane Studios, the same people who brought out 2012's Dishonored, a well-received and very liked game by many people. And this E3 they announced Dishonored 2. The trailer they showed us seemed to be set in a Mediterranean port city, where the government seems to have imposed some pretty strict laws. It's at this point that we're introduced to a new playable character, Emily Cadrot. Throughout the trailer she's displaying new powers that the last protagonist didn't have, when she sets out to kill who I can only assume is some sort of governor. The trailer cuts short of showing us the kill. Back on stage we get some more info from the directors. You can now play as both Corvo and Emily in the upcoming game. Both characters have their own unique sets of skills, gadgets and weapons. And combining the two and using them in unique ways will help you progress through the game and tackle it in different ways. Just like the original games, you can go in guns blazing or complete the missions through stealth and staying in the shadows. We're not given a time frame for release of this game, we're just told that it's coming. They also announced Dishonored, the Definitive Edition, which contained all the old DLCs and some graphical enhancements for the PS4, which will be out in fall. And so as the folks from Arcane Studios wander off the stage, the next video starts rolling to reveal The Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited. The video showed off the latest expansion for Elder Scrolls Online, which came out a week prior, but this is Elder Scrolls Online and I lost all interest in that game after a few hours. So let's move on. The next announcement video was for the Elder Scrolls Legends, a new strategy card game based in the Elder Scrolls universe. What you're seeing in the background is all we know about it. These pictures and the name. So with this lack of knowledge, all I can really say is I believe it's got some stiff competition in the market already, thanks to Blizzard's Hearthstone, not to mention stalwarts like Magic the Gathering. It's going to have a tough time in the market, but we'll see what it does. On to the next one. And here it is, the reason Bethesda had an E3 conference at all. So they called Todd Howard to the stage for him to unveil Fallout 4. This game alone took up a substantial amount of Bethesda's E3 time. So they started off by talking about their attention to detail, and then they decided to show a little movie clip of concept art. After this, the developer walks out and announces that we will not be playing from inside the vault for the initial part of the game. You start the game in a pre-Fallout world. Your character wakes up on a Saturday morning and stands in front of the mirror with his wife. And it's at this point where you get to make your character selection. Female, male, so you can play as both. And you customize both characters. After that, the game progresses slightly and a baby is born. That baby is generated based on the two characters you created in that initial window. During this scene, you also interact with Cosworth, your robot assistant, and with a Vault-Tec employee, which you've already signed up for just in case. Not long after this, a TV news report comes on, warning about nuclear detonations already in progress. You immediately race to the vault. And, spoiler alert, you get caught outside when the blast goes off. Now they refuse to spoil any more of the game story after this point. Needless to say, you do survive, and emerge 200 years later from the vault as the sole survivor. A couple of things to note from the short bit of gameplay. You no longer get death stared by NPCs when you talk to them. You have the option to watch it in third or first person, or walk away entirely. You also have a dog in this one. It's a well-trained dog for a purebred German Shepherd that's been 200 years in the wasteland, so don't ask me where he came from. You can use the dog to fetch and carry as well as attack and to defend. The VATS targeting system is still in the game for those who love to use it. All this is set in a massive wasteland surrounding the downtown Boston area. After this, they went into details concerning the Pip-boy, the giant smartwatches in the game. There's many cool features and visual enhancements to the Pip-boys when you're using them. One of the cool new features of this Pip-boy is the ability to play game tapes, which are basically knockoffs of 1980s games. So you have the Red Menace, which is basically a Donkey Kong knockoff, and then you have Atomic Command, which is a knockoff of Missile Command. After showing off the Pip-boy in game, they decided to make a bunch of people lose their minds and show a real Pip-boy. The only catches are, you must buy the collector's edition to get it, and it's literally just a glorified smartphone case. You still need an app for a phone to put in it to make it work. And how much does this plastic case set you back? Well, let me just post the Australian prices between the pre-order for the game on its own and the game with the Pip-boy. As you can see, that's a $90 difference. I'll let you make up your own mind whether it's worth it. Speaking of mobile devices, right after the air quotes real Pip-boy was shown, they announced Fallout Shelter, which is a vault building game set in a vertical plane where you control the everyday lives of the people in the vault, making sure they've got enough food, shelter, ammo, etc. And you send them out for missions outside the vault to collect resources. Fun looking little game. There was no microtransactions listed or shown, but there was a shop button, so we'll have to find out what that does. But the biggest thing was, the game was available right then and there. Now, after the mobile game was shown off, they went back to talking about Fallout 4. And in this segment, they started talking about the creative ability of the game. You could modify and build structures in the world, so you could build your own settlements. As it grows, more people come into your settlement. Traders will arrive who want to set up shop, and these traders have some of the better items in the game. You can also build generators. When these are combined with light poles, gun turrets, and other knickknacks around the world, and a computer terminal, some interesting things can be created. I was fairly impressed with the display they put up. But you will be required to build defenses for your settlements. They can and will be attacked by bandits. This customizability also carries across both the weapons and the armor your character can use. It is fairly impressive actually. And so ends Bethesda's first ever E3. They did do a little bit at the end where they gave away some miniature characters for the people in the crowd and a few select Twitch users who were lucky enough to win it. But apart from that, that was it. So what was my final conclusion overall? I didn't think Bethesda needed to drag out certain segments as long as they did. Minor gripe, they probably felt they needed to go big on their first try. 2 games popped up onto my radar that I didn't care about. And I know some people will be shocked, but Fallout 4, I never liked the previous Fallouts. On top of that, Doom. I love the original Doom, but I hated Doom 3. But with that said, Bethesda did a great job. Round of applause for them. I hope to see them next year, hopefully with a few more games under their belt, but we'll see. If you're still watching at this point, thanks for watching, like, favorite and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.